Hello, and welcome to the BBC School News Report at the Blandford School. I'm Sophie, and today we're reporting on the new GCSEs. This could be affecting you. Over to Harry interviewing Mr Williams, Assistant Head at the Blandford School.
Explain how it is more difficult to get a C and why.
Well, I suppose the first thing is that the C no longer exists, that they've now gone to numbers in the new system. Current Year 11s will still have grades, but next year's year, or current Year 10, next year's Year 11, and so on, will start to move to numbers, English and Maths being the first ones. The difficulty comes in a good pass. So before, a good pass will be seen as a C grade, now it'll be seen as a number 5. The issue with that is the boundary to that number 5 has been raised. So only those who would have achieved a top end C in the old style Maths and English, let's say for example next year, would get a good pass. Those that get a mid-level C and a bottom-level C would get now a level 4, which is not considered to be a good pass.
How do you think grading 1 to 9 will make people feel?
I think initially it will make people a little bit confused. People have become so used to using grades at GCSE. I think an issue is really understanding what those numbers actually stand for themselves. I think also what the issue will be is getting their head around what a good pass is, because not only is a 5 replacing a C as a good pass, but it also has raised the boundary of the grade as well. So you've got to actually achieve much higher in order to get a good pass than you did before.
Can you explain the main changes between the old and new GCSE?
Okay, so for the new Maths GCSE, there's now going to be 3 papers instead of 2 exam papers. 2 of the exam papers are going to be calculator paper, and one of them is going to be non-calculator paper. There's a new grading system as well, so instead of being graded from A star to G, it's now being graded from 9 down to 1. There's also a greater emphasis on students being able to use their mathematics and use it to answer problems, rather than just showing that they can demonstrate a skill.
Is it more difficult to achieve a higher level?
They've introduced this new grade 9, and that has been designed to really stretch students. So there's some more difficult content that's come into the GCSE, and there's more content in the Maths GCSE. And the reason they've done this is to try and help students demonstrate that they understand some of the more difficult concepts. So it is more difficult to get a higher grade, but I think the system's set up so that you can't really compare A star to G with grades 1 to 9.
How are you finding the new Maths and English GCSE?
I think it's really good. Some bits of it are quite hard, but yeah, I understand it.
I don't like them. I think it's stupid that Maths and English is different to the rest of them. Well, I know next year they're all going to be numbers, but people that are employing you aren't going to know what the numbers mean. So I think it's dumb.
Well, I mean, we've had to redesign new courses and get used to that. I think it's more the effect it's going to actually have on students, because truthfully, I said before, they're making it harder for students to get across the C boundary. So that's the major difficulty that's going to present us, because we've got to try and get students over that boundary, and the pass mark has been moved up. So it's how do we get our students, who sometimes would struggle to get the C grade on the old system, to now get a C grade, which is much harder to get, but they need to be able to do level 3 courses afterwards.
And what's your personal opinion on the changes to GCSEs?
I think that although coursework and controlled assessment had their problems, there were benefits in that students, if students took them seriously, they could get points in the bank beforehand, and it also gives students a chance to show what they can do. Over controlled assessment or coursework, you've got time to get it right, you've got time to think about it and develop it, but that's going to be replaced by trying to get everything right in 30 minutes and 45-minute essay type questions.
What are the new changes for the new GCSEs?
So all GCSEs will change over the next 3 years, meaning that the curriculum will change. So students will be expected to learn slightly different things than before. In some subjects there's quite dramatic changes with sort of sweeping new content, and others they've just removed a few bits and pieces and added a few new bits and pieces in.
What are you doing to help the students prepare for the new curriculum?
So their curriculum at Key Stage 3 has changed to make sure they're prepared for those new GCSEs when they start them in years 10 and 11. And we're also offering alternative advice to students about what subjects they might want to study, what subjects will be important for them to study, and the sort of things they should consider before choosing their options at GCSE.
What subjects are changing and when?
So the first subject's already started to change. So year 10, English and Maths changed in September 2015. Moving forward to September 2016, Sciences, Humanities, Languages and PE will all change. And then in September 2017, Business Studies and Design and Technology will change.
Are the new GCSEs harder than before?
That's a good question. I think some people would argue that they are. There is supposed to be parity between old and new so that students aren't disadvantaged. But if you talk to subject experts, they'll tell you that the content in some of those GCSEs are harder, and the government have raised the bar in terms of what would be considered a good GCSE. So currently, a grade C or better is considered a good GCSE. In the new system, a grade 5 or better will be considered better, which is the top quarter of C grades rather than all of those C grades. So you could say they're going to be a harder challenge.
How will the new changes, the new GCSEs, affect the students' achievement?
I think one of the big problems will be for students that their curriculum may be narrowed slightly, in as much as they will have to choose a humanities subject or a language, and potentially going forward due to government changes they'll have to choose both a language and a humanities subject. So that will reduce some of their choice a little bit. In terms of their achievement, we can see that good GCSE grade is going to be harder to achieve, so that is going to have implications for those students. But hopefully the things that we've put in place at Key Stage 3, the different advice to choosing option at Key Stage 4 will mitigate some of that, so students should hopefully still achieve as well as they always have done.
Well, I think they need to see, we haven't really been informed on it much, but I know that we're changing the English and the maths, but that's it, so it doesn't really make any sense. I think they should at least change it all before they change, instead of just changing English and maths, it should be a whole board change.
How are you finding the new Maths and English GCSE?
They're hard, but they're quite fun and challenging, and I get it, so yeah, they're alright, good.
Now, back to the studio with Sophie.
In other news, the Poetry by Heart recital competition has revealed the spoken talents of Year 11 student Leela and Year 12's Hannah and Bethan. Last Tuesday, the girls recited 2 poems each for an expert panel of judges. Congratulations to all 3 students for such a high standard of competition, which culminated in a win for Bethan, who will now go on to the regional competition in Dorchester at the end of January. That's everything from the school report. Have a Merry Christmas and see you on the 10th of March 2016 for our next report.